talking about race with someone who I actually have a lot in common with. When I was growing up, I often felt like I was like the only one on this planet who...
A Latina?
A Latina, right. I didn't even know what it was, and I didn't even know who I was. And as a result, it's something that, I don't know, it's, you know, like, one of the things that really struck me about your book was the honesty in which you discuss something that lots of us don't really talk about in public. Like, I actually found myself talking to my students about it after reading your book. When I was 8 years old, my mother's Dominican and my father's family was from Jamaica. He was a first-generation immigrant, but he actually grew up in Jamaica, and they met in a beauty parlor in Harlem, which is so uniquely American, how they would meet like that. And my mother, when I was growing up, my mother didn't speak any English, and my father didn't speak any Spanish. So I figured it was because, you know, they just kind of liked each other like that, because they was
the language of love.
It wasn't really an intellectual relationship. But I didn't really know what I was. And when I just assumed I was Spanish, which is what my mother said we were. And when I was 8 years old, white Latinos from my 3rd grade class called me a nigger. And it really threw me. They said they didn't want to be my friend because I was a nigger. And then the black students in my class, which was maybe like 3 people, they didn't want to be my friend either because they said, well, you're Spanish. And so I remember that feeling of just being so incredibly lost, and I didn't know who to talk to about it. And when I read, well, you should talk about it, what happened to you when you were a kid, and with the photographer, it really spoke to me.
Yeah, but I will frame it by saying my parents, what they did really well was to drill into our heads who we were. And until and I was about probably 20 or even 30, where you started thinking, well, maybe their definition is not my definition. But until, you know, really through my 20s, I knew I am black and I am Latina. My mother used to say it all the time. Don't let them tell you you're not black. Don't let them tell you you're not Latina. And I was like, she's so crazy. Who is the they? I'm in an all-white neighborhood in Long Island. There are no black people here. There are no Latinos here. Who's the they who's going to be challenging me? I thought she was completely insane. The story that we start the book with is a story of going to a photographer's studio in Long Island, Main Street, Smithtown. All-white community, probably 99. My high school is 99.9996999% white. And the photographer were going to get a picture. My sister and I were going to get a picture taken for my parents. Classic kid, like a picture of us. What more could you want as a gift? I got you me. And so we went in, I was 11, my sister was 14, my sister Estella. And the photographer said, as he was taking us to the back to take our pictures, he said, so forgive me if I'm offending you, but are you black? And I remember at 11, I couldn't quite figure out. He was lovely, he was charming, he seemed very nice. But he clearly was saying something that was completely contradictory to the way he was behaving, which was quite lovely. And what he was saying, even as an 11-year-old, I could tell was something very hurtful and ugly. And I couldn't quite sort of put those two things together in my head. Now my sister, who was 14, who was hardcore, started ripping the man. And, you know, she basically was like, we're out of here, and she, you know, turned out. But I remember being just very perplexed. Like, what do you mean? Offend's a weird word. Why would you pick the word offend? As opposed to, excuse me, are you black? And I remember after I was telling the story, we ran an excerpt, there was a little debate online, people saying, well, maybe what he meant was, or maybe you misinterpreted. And there's a lot of my childhood I remember where you think, they didn't mean that. You know, when you start taking that extra, I know you didn't.
They were just confused. He was confused.
Trying to, you know, and at some point you realize that no one's confused, that people, you know, they mean what they say. That's exactly what he meant.